Well, welcome to a Pastor's Café. I'm your host, David. I'm here with Pastor Steve Kern. We are ready for episode number 42, and I must read this from the paper because I don't have it memorized, of today's topic. Today, secrets unveiled, ancient mysteries, hidden truths, and biblical prophecy, and we'll be right back. Well, welcome back to the show. This is a Pastor's Cafe, and it's, boy, I tell you what, I'm really excited. How about you? I'm always excited. You know, I love listening to your answers. I mean, it's just like, I just kind of sit in awe going, you know, I think I'm so smart. I think I've got all the answers. Then I'll listen to you go like, I'm not very smart. I don't have all the answers.
Well, I'll guarantee you, I don't either.
Oh, really? Well, you say, oh, well, my dear son, I do. I have all the answers, and everyone needs to listen to me.
That'd be nice if anybody would.
But, you know, there are people out there that really do have an answer for every question.
Oh, I know.
You know what's my favorite delight? You know, when I was teaching academia, is for a professor, a college professor, to try to make up an answer. And just like dance around it and circle around it, but really not say anything at all. And then they would sit back in their chair and go, oh, I'm such a big thinker. I'm like, what did you just say? I have no idea, but it was so brilliant.
Well, there's a lot of that going on.
There's a lot of that going on. But not in this conversation. In this conversation, it's going to be very deep. Deep.
Well, the topics are deep.
They're deep topics, yep. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Here we go with question number 1. It's dealing with ancient giants and the Nephilim. Were biblical giants real? And could their descendants still be influencing the world today?
Well, the answer to the first question, of course, yes. The concept of Nephilim begins the giants in Genesis chapter 6 there, where they were the product, apparently, of fallen angels who copulated with women, and their whatever what do you want to call it, grew into be much larger, apparently, than regular humans.
Yep.
And so the Bible is very specific about that. And then, too, after the flood, and everybody was killed except for Noah's family. One of the reasons why God chose Canaan for Abraham to go in and take over is apparently the different cultures there, the different tribes, whatever you want to call them, people, had connections with giants. The Anakim.
Yep.
You got Gog, that was one of the kings.
Sure.
There was a couple of those kings that were basically considered to be giants. So the giants, yes, they were real. And there's even been some different fossil remains of femurs being very large or larger than normal. Of course, something we have to understand, too, if we get back to the flood, that before the flood, the heavier atmospheric pressure was one of the reasons why everything was much larger than it is now.
Sure.
There's evidence in the fossil record for that. The animals that are now the size they are were much larger than. Then, of course, you had the dinosaurs that were very large, that would not really, the way the air is now, is too thin for them to survive. You have whales that can do it because the heavier atmospheric pressure, when they go down deeper into the water, they can absorb the oxygen. So, so you had, even humans back then were larger.
Yeah, well, how's Goliath play into this?
Well, of course, Goliath was a descendant of the Anakim that basically were there when the Israelites first went in. Of course, the Israelites, when they went into the land, they said there are giants there, and that was one reason why there's no way that we can win, And so God made them wander around in the wilderness for 40 years till they got the next generation to come in that were he could use to go in and do what they were not willing to believe that God could do, which is an amazing thing to me, because these are people that had walked through water, on dry land, and God did all kinds of miracles. I mean, he totally and completely destroyed the Egyptian kingdom at that time.
Yeah.
The giants were real. And an interesting thing about influencing the world today, the understanding is that the demonic forces, a lot of the demonic forces are actually the souls of the Nephilim. And that's been put out there and has been supported by some pretty qualified scholars and stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And the spiritual warfare and everything that goes on. And, of course, they were descendants or products of a consummation between a fallen angel and human. So they were fallen in themselves. Mm-hmm. And so if they were to die and had a soul, obviously it would be demonic.
Sure.
And so that does make sense that they're still having influence in the sense of, the spiritual warfare that we deal with even today. Mm-hmm. So, but the Nephilim, the Bible is very specific about them, and they're there more than once, and it's not just a side thing. Mm-hmm. And the hard thing about it is people saying, well, how in the world can an angel, of course, the angels actually referred to watchers that were later on. Some of these watchers were they were angels that God put in charge of the different nations at Babel. Mm-hmm. And then God chose the nation of Israel, Abraham's descendants, to be the nation that he was going to win the rest of those nations through. But but apparently the idea of a angel and a woman being able to cohabit, but it's kind of hard to understand. But you see in the Old Testament, oftentimes the angels are referred to a man. Mm-hmm. The man Gabriel.
Yes.
And the mother of Samson, that the angel comes and tells her, and she refers to him as this man that came. Mm-hmm. And then we have in Hebrews, where it talks about how that we entertained angels unaware. Yeah. And the story I heard of a young lady that was in a Pinto Ford that got rear-ended and caught on fire. Pinto Ford. And she couldn't get out. And finally the door flew open and she got out. She was over setting, just kind of getting herself back together again. And there were those that came and asked her, "Where's the man that was in the car with you?" Well, there wasn't a man in the car. Well, yeah, I was in there. He helped to get the door open. That kind of thing. Wow. Yeah. I mean, and she's shared that testimony all over the place. But so you have that kind of, and then of course Billy Graham, in his book Angels, he gives several different stories of people's experience of how angels came and protected missionaries and stuff, and they didn't even know it. Yeah. So there is obviously the ability for angelic beings to move between the spirit and the natural. So when you have that kind of understanding, then Nephilim is something that makes sense. Yeah. And and of course, people think that when God said that his he was going to defeat Satan through the seed of the woman. They have the understanding that that Satan was trying to use the Nephilim to distort the seed of the woman.
Gotcha.
In order to offset, God's plan to destroy him through the seed of the woman. So those are kinds of things that are there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, there's no way that the idea of some of the people interpret that passage of Scripture there that the men that came out of that were the descendants of Cain.
Yeah, gotcha.
The descendant of Cain. The women mixed with, but that would still be a man and a man. That wouldn't be something that would be unnatural.
Sure.
And the description is definitely an unnatural kind of being. So they're real, and they're still having an influence.
Okay.
Through spiritual warfare.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Good deal. So the next question is going to be dealing with secret societies and biblical prophecy. Could organizations like the Freemasons or Skull and Bones be fulfilling end-time prophecies described in the Bible?
Well, in the Scriptures, Paul and Peter, they talk about end times, now that man is going to come to the point to where he's very self-centered. We're all caught up in our naturalism and all that kind of a thing.
Boy, we're there.
Yeah, we're very much there. And I just I believe that these organizations are just kind of an expression of man in his rebellion against God, trying to produce different kinds of things to replace what God's ultimate plan is for the coming of, and Satan's way of distracting from what the real truth is, and get people off on tangents. See, Satan is.
We're there.
Satan doesn't care what you believe, as long as you don't believe in Jesus. You see, if he can get you to believe anything, and man alive, he's been able to get people to believe in a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah, very true.
If he can get anything you can do to replace Jesus with anything else, or even make Jesus into something other than what he.
Sure, and I wonder if that's the reason why a lot of Christians are very apprehensive and cautious, and understandably so, with AI. Yeah. Because of where it's taking us. Yeah. And it is very scary and troubling.
Well, you have the idea there of...
And we live in a day and at a time where we're dazed and confused. There's so much happening so quickly. And doesn't it say something about that in the Bible? About information being transferred very quickly and our ability to connect via online. And
well, that's in Revelation.
Yeah, Revelation.
Well, you think in terms of the Antichrist and then the prophet. And the kinds of things going on, like the Antichrist is supposed to have a head wound, and he's healed, and and the prophet is be able to speak all kinds of things, that seem to be a lot of wisdom and everything.
So it could be a human being that gets infused with alien technology or AI technology, and has evolved into this super being that everyone will love because of how brilliant and smart they are, and it will bring about world peace. Doesn't that sound good? That sounds so good.
Well, yes, and it sounds good, and it's when these people out here trying to bring about a one world government, And aren't they? Isn't that kind of what they're having the idea that what's their? Why is that they say, okay, well, we're still committed to communism, but even though communism in Russia, communism in China, communism in all these different countries that have failed the communistic approach, well, it's just they just don't have the right leadership.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. We're finally going to
So socialism does work.
Socialism works. You just got to have the right leadership.
Okay.
And
do tell more.
Well, and the right leadership, and then the right kind of people that basically. So, what does socialism do? It does away with individualism, and that's part of the problem of Christianity. Because Christianity is all about individualism, a personal relationship with God, and each individual is made in the image of God, and so each individual
which is truly can't wrap my mind around this, that we each have a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
That just blows my mind.
Because he dwells in us by his Spirit.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is.
I read this a few days ago about this atheist fellow that was, reading the different religions, and they asked him, well, what did you think? What was it about Christianity that stood out to you from any of the other religions? And he said, well, the one thing that really stood out to me was that this God creator was willing to come and live within the people that he created. He said that was just that was the most amazing thing to him about Christianity.
Wow.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah, it is
when you think about it. But it's really going back to the way it was when God created Adam and Eve. Because that's what they were. They were spiritual beings living in a physical body in a natural environment, but they were still had the capacity to communicate and walk with God in the garden and have fellowship with him.
Wow.
And those who worship must worship him in spirit and in truth. And so Adam and Eve had to be in spirit in order to have a communication with God, who came and personally met with them on an ongoing basis. So, well, what happened with Adam and Eve is basically they chose to want to be their own God, and God says, so have at it. So what did he do? He removed his presence.
Yeah.
And they died spiritually. He said, the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. Well, they didn't die physically.
Yeah.
But they all of a sudden became aware of what? Their nakedness or physicalness.
And sometimes I feel like that with certain people in my life. Have at it.
Have at it.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
I see this train wreck getting ready to happen, but go ahead and enjoy every single second of it.
But God didn't say one thing to them. He couldn't say it because he didn't want Satan to know.
That's right. Wow.
He couldn't say to them, in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die.
Yep.
And then I'll have to die for you.
Wow.
He didn't say that, but he did hint at it in in Genesis 3:15.
Yeah.
And he said, he's going to crush your head through the seed of the serpent.
Yeah.
See, and so God had already in place that, okay, not really saying it, but I've got you covered.
Wow.
Right there. Now, is that not grace and mercy?
Was that?
Yeah, exactly. So, and what
exactly.
I told,
Yep.
And actually, the thing about it is, we all sinned because Adam sinned. We were in Adam, and so because Adam sinned, we all sinned. So it all passed to us. But that transitions to when Jesus lived a sinless life and died. When we put our faith and trust in Jesus, what does God do with us? He puts us into Jesus.
Yep.
And everything that applies to Jesus applies to us. Just like everything that applied to Adam applies to us and our fallenness, everything that applies to Jesus when we put our faith in him and we're born of the Spirit, then everything that's true of Jesus is true of us.
Wow.
We inherit all that Jesus is.
Yep.
Just like we inherit all that Adam was.
Yep.
It's so biblically consistent.
Yeah.
That's why Paul refers to him as the second Adam.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Last question of the day. Hidden codes in Scripture. Are there secret messages encoded in the Bible predicting major world events, or is this theory mere sensationalism?
Sensationalism.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. I can't talk today for some reason. I've been talking a lot today, and my vocal cords are worn out. And we still got a service to do tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
It's really interesting. The Hebrew language is numerical in the sense that each of the letters of the alphabet has a numeric number. You know. And so it's interesting how that they've shown that you can take certain number sequences, and as you go through the Hebrew and you follow those sequences, there are certain kinds of messages that actually come out. And I can't remember the one specifically now, but there are phrases that can be stated or that are stated in there that when you put the numbers together, you know, and it is something very, very interesting about how that the Hebrew language is very supportive of the biblical narrative itself, which makes a suggestion to me is, well, what language did Adam and Eve speak and all the rest of them before Babel? I've got a feeling it could have been Hebrew.
Yeah, it could have been. Exactly. Yeah.
But there is, I think sometimes they can go to extremes on the code thing, but there is something to it.
Sure.
Is what I'm saying.
Oh, and there's a lot of discussion happening right now, 2025, 2032, 7 years.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, and of course, 7, the number 7 means completion. And number 3, the Trinity. 6 is the number for man. You know, and then you see these different things, 666.
Sure.
You know, those kinds of things all kind of have their meaning in one way or another. From
we got blood moons happening this year. There's all kinds of interesting things happening.
Yeah.
And now we don't have peace anymore in the Middle East. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Gog, Magog.
Yeah.
We live in exciting times. AI. What else we got going on? One world government. What's happening in the crypto world? Currency.
Well, what about this? They sent a rocket up into space, and they pick these people up that have been up there for 9 months stranded.
Okay, yeah.
And they put them in there, and then they bring it back, and they're able to land that thing right where.
Okay, really quick though. So they go up there for how long? How long were they supposed to be there?
Well, I don't know how long, but they were there for 8 months?
They were there for 8 months. Okay.
Yeah.
But I thought it was only supposed to be a few months.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so why did they bring Santa Christmas hats with them?
Why did they bring Christmas hats? Oh, are you trying to say that, was this something that really...
So what could have happened?
That goes back to our last week's thing.
They were just out doing their thing, and they needed to come up with a story to bring us together and how great we accomplished things together. But realistically speaking, they went into a huge tank of water and did some filming and stuff like that. And then basically, dropped them out of an airplane and coming down here. I don't know. I'd like to take a deep dive sometime with you. It was basically saying, I don't think we've really ever been to space. I think this whole entire thing is just a psyops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we've talked about it before, but to me it's very interesting. If you listen to Armstrong and a couple of interviews that he does say in these interviews, and I'll have to find the video footage and let you watch them. Neil Armstrong.
Oh, yeah. Armstrong, yes. I read that.
Basically stating that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, that's not today's topic or anything, but boy, I tell you what, I would really like to know if our listening audience would like for us to take a deep dive into that area. If not, it's okay. Then you can have your belief system on whether or not we've been to the moon, and I'm just joking.
But what does that do? That whole thing, it embellishes or helps us to understand how that it's why people have such a hard time accepting the truth of God's word. Nowadays, they're having a hard time accepting the truth of anything.
That's the reason why I brought it up. I mean, do we have the ability to go up in space? We probably do. Were they in space? Most likely. It's just it's hard to figure out what is truth and what is fiction because of what's happening in this world.
Well, and you've had so much stuff going on that later on you find out, wait a minute, this was supposed to be it, but this is what really it was. And that's coming out, especially with this Doge stuff.
Oh, I know. And okay, so if you really think about it, how many times in history have the scientists say you shouldn't eat eggs?
Yeah.
No, you should eat eggs. Eggs are good for you. No, eggs are bad for you.
Yeah.
Cow milk, you should only drink pasteurized milk.
Oh, yeah.
You shouldn't drink raw milk. You should drink raw milk. It is good for you. It has the certain things within the raw milk that actually kind of helps your immune system. No, you shouldn't drink it. So it's like every few years we get this new round. I'd say if you really want to take another deep dive, look at the food pyramid.
Oh, gosh.
But that is another deep dive that we could take.
Well,
but what does that have to do with the Bible? Well, I can't say absolutely nothing, but not really.
Well, with the one thing, they had that rocket ship that went up there with something on top of it, and it came back, and that wasn't there anymore. Where did it go?
Where did it go?
You see, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
See, so there's always different ways of looking at stuff.
Someday we'll know.
Yeah.
Someday. But you know what? When we get up to heaven,
yeah.
I don't think it's going to make a huge difference at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
I don't think we'll be talking about that hymn that you sung the other day. Ooh, that just wasn't appropriate. Or all of our discussions on, I was not on the carpet committee. I wanted the dark gray carpet. Well, I had to settle with light gray. And there's been church splits happen because of carpet color.
Well, yes, for sure. But it's an interesting thing because there's going to be a lot of music in heaven. And who's going to determine what style of music is that going to be? Angelic music?
Oh, I know. And it'll be like something we've never heard in our entire lives. Mm-hmm. It will be so beautiful. And I do wonder though if there's going to be a concert for Gregorian chant lovers.
Yeah.
And there's a little concert over here for people who, Moses brought down the stone tablets, right, and with the hymns written on them, right? Isn't that what he did? Brought down the approved hymns.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it's the Ten Commandments. Okay.
Well, it's going to be different. Totally different.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure we'll look back and say,
wow, that was stupid.
Wow. Right? Oh, I can't believe I misbehaved like that.
Yeah,
oh,
real.
Goodness. What on earth was I thinking? Well, I was on earth and I wasn't thinking.
Father, forgive me, for I know not what I do.
Right? Oh, man, I tell you what, this is a good episode. Thank you for your brilliant answers.
Oh, dear me. Praise the Lord.
Always good to talk to you.
Well, thanks. I'm enjoying it, too.
Yeah, good deal. All right, well, until next time, hold the fort. For I am coming, Jesus signals still. Hey, that's a good old song. Hold the fort.
Hold the fort.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well,
so until then, hold the fort, and we'll be back next week.
Jesus said, occupy till I come.
That's right. Until then, bye-bye.